play the blame game. I love you more. Let's call out names.
What is going on, people? Welcome to an album review of Greeley's Risdom. I covered some of the singles that were dropped before the album was released. I've reacted to Greeley for a while now, been aware of what he's been doing. He was recently on the podcast as well, I believe. Yeah, the most recent episode on the podcast at the time of dropping this video. So yeah, nothing but massive respect for Greeley, and I was really looking forward to this album, especially since he dropped the singles Big Grills and Burgundy and Burberry. It just really got me excited for this project, especially because I know Greeley served some time, and I know that obviously he talks about those experiences with Lewis Spears, one of his close friends. We briefly spoke about the process of writing the album, what was going through his head at the time in the podcast, and so I know that Greeley had a lot to say, and that's why I was excited. I'm always excited for an artist who has a story to tell, where I feel like they have something that they need to say, you know, they have a message to get across. And in this case is Greeley's experiences over these last couple years, and kind of what he's learning in life, and where his headspace is at. And so we have a 9-track album here, obviously with skits in the middle, and we have Big Grills to start it off. You know, you have the first initial sound clip that was used in the video of basically like, listen, the Screw said like, I'm not gonna make it in rap, well look who's the fucking joke now, or whatever it was. And I love that. I think that's a great introduction to the album, and I feel like Big Grills is a great introduction to the album. Done a reaction to it already, of course, but I just feel like it rounds Greeley up as a character, you know. It summarizes him as a personality in a track, and it's one of those kind of singles that could have been placed at the very start of the album or the end, but I'm actually glad that it was placed at the start. Then you've got Back in the Day, which, you know, talks about shit from back in the day, you know. It has this really funky bass line, it has this sharp snare that I like. Yeah, this is a good track. Talks about some of his past, and, you know, a chapter from his earlier days in rap and battle rap, with a hook that ties these verses in nicely with this little hey ho hey oh in the background. And there, I feel like that's just, it's a nice added effect, because if he performs it live, it's going to be easy to get the crowd to interact with that one, so I like that one for that reason. That's something that people forget about, you know. Some people may not like certain tracks, but when you perform them live, they do kind of hit differently, and that's one that, just by having a live audience being able to interact with that chorus, it might make it feel 10 times better. One of the first criticisms I do have is on the next track, Talk Shit. I don't like this hook. It feels very monotone. It feels very, I don't know. I mean, it's there, and yeah, there's gonna be plenty of people that love it. Of course, this is just my personal taste. I don't know. It just seems very repetitive, which I know is the point in a hook. I know that sounds so dumb that I say that out loud. There's repetition in a good way, where it gets stuck in your head and you can sing along with it. This one, it's just, I don't know. This is where I'm not a professional reviewer. I don't know what the word is to describe it, but yeah, I just didn't like the hook. But on the verses though, Greeley spilled some real shit, and I'm not gonna take that away from him. Talking about his experiences with, you know, people lying or being two-faced or fake personas even, you know, talking about what he's personally seen in relation to that subject matter. Then the next track is the self-titled track, Wisdom, which, yeah, is one of those other tracks that could kind of be placed anywhere in this project and it would fit. But he basically tells us his story of being in prison, and he doesn't glorify it, you know. In this current age where we glorify a lot of dark shit, you know, whether that may be being on road or being in prison or fucking, I don't know, whatever it is. You know, there's a lot of glorifying it nowadays, and Greeley shows the opposite side of that. Greeley is exactly what I personally believe artists should do, which is, yes, alright, shit's happened, but tell your story. Don't glorify that story. Now, I understand Greeley's is slightly different. Greeley isn't a mass murderer, alright? He may murder a slut drop, but that's about it. And I won't go into the reasons why he did time here. If you know, you know. It's nothing major. And kind of bullshit in my opinion. But either way, he, you know, doesn't go in there and be like, yeah, I was in prison, fuck you cunt, I'm harder than you, you know what I mean? Greeley's not that kind of person. He's like, look, my situation is what it is, and this is what I've learned in my time. Telling a story of, I don't know whether this is a story personal to him or whether he's seen it or heard it from one of his other inmates, I'm not too sure, but telling a story about not being able to trust a close friend and not being able to trust his missus, and, you know, that friend fucking the missus, and just kind of all of the thoughts and the doubt and the kind of low self-esteem almost that you may go through, and the mindset you may go through whilst being disconnected from the world. Kind of goes on to give his thoughts on a corrupt system, a system that doesn't work, in something that he doesn't respect. We got Burgundy and Burberry, which is the first kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna talk my shit on this album. And again, I did my reaction to this, links down in the description, and I like this track, and I feel like it comes at the right place at the right time. I feel like it just gives that burst of energy that the project needed. I feel like if Greeley was carrying on with that energy, yes, it's great for the first 5 tracks or so, but Burgundy and Burberry was just the right lift that we needed, in my opinion. And that carries on to the next track, NTBFW. Yes, NTBFW, not to be fucked with. And again, it's another one of those tracks that again keeps that energy high, and what Greeley does is creates this roller coaster effect. It's carrying the same energy from Burgundy and Burberry, but it's in more of this dark boom bap style, and it kind of just mixes what Greeley was doing earlier on in the project with the boom bap and the older style of hip hop, that then takes that energy from the previous track and kind of merges it into this track number 6 here. It reminds me of something that the Psych Ward would do, which I know Greeley's good friends with someone like Complete, so I don't know if he took inspiration from them or if that's just the kind of Aussie hip hop style that, you know, that I'm now becoming accustomed to. You know, this song talks about, you know, kind of pride and dignity and kind of honor among your brothers, along your own men, and that's emphasized in the hook with this kind of chanting and marching kind of emphasis in the background. You know, that marching, that chanting creates this effect, like it's almost like an army behind the track, you know, and it gives that feeling of, yes, I'm not doing this alone, that kind of sense of togetherness and brotherhood. Then we move on to Sore Shoulders, which tones it back down and, you know, gets more personal, and it reminds me of something that Dundee would actually do. In this track, Greeley talks about those themes of pressure and adversity, and kind of, again, Greeley does a lot of self-reflecting. He shows a level of maturity that I would expect from someone like Greeley. You know, and he talks about his thought processes behind some of the struggles that come with things that he's lived through, and has this delivery as if he's always talking to you. And Greeley just has that across this album, just this kind of cadence where it's a one-way conversation almost, you know. He's not trying to rap to you, he's trying to talk to you. He really wants his message, he really wants his lyrics, he really wants his purpose to hit home with you as a listener, and that's just the vibe I get off of him. Then we have probably one of the most personal tracks on the album, which is Would Have Been Here Now, which talks about a young man, I believe goes by the name of Jared, rest in peace my brother, young man, 22, and Greeley tells a story of, you know, being in prison and finding out the news about this young man being shot or murdered. And then how that affects, you know, other people around him, how that, them thinking about how that may affect his family, you know, knowing the family, knowing that Jared was one of his fans actually. And again, shows that other side to all of the drillings and road shit, like this shit affects other people and their families. Like, this isn't just some YouTube shit. Like, beef goes beyond the internet. Like, yes, you guys see it, and just to be very clear, I'm part of this as well, where we see all of these tracks and these lyrics about dipping this one down and twisting the fucking peanut at that one, I don't know. And, you know, I sit here and I gas that shit up sometimes, you know, that's just the honest truth. And then Greeley gives that flip perspective, although he doesn't mention music, and I don't believe this incident was a music related incident. It just kind of makes you think about that. It makes you think about, like, right, whether someone's, you know, from the fucking hood and on the roads themselves, or whether it's someone who's innocent and is just an innocent bystander, you know, anyone and anywhere in between, you know, this really does affect the people around them. And then for the last track, which includes the only feature of this album, featuring Denny, who smashes it here. I really like her style. I really like how when she sings, you can hear the Aussie accent, which is something that I always applaud. I always applaud when a UK artist sings and they sound like a Brit. And I always applaud when an Aussie sounds like an Aussie, or an Islander sounds like an Islander. Like, I always applaud just, you know, doing that, because we see rappers being dug out for not spitting lyrics in their own accent, but we never mention singers as much. Singers kind of get the pass. Like, a lot of singers still sing in an American accent. I'm not sure why that is. I guess just being used to hearing, you know, a lot of mainstream artists from America. But then he really shows off her personality here, and I really do appreciate that. So you start off with this light-hearted track like Big Grills, and then we end here with something that's more dark, more thought-provoking, but with a sprinkle of motivation in there as well. Reminds me of one of those Eminem type tracks. Again, I hate pulling Eminem comparisons, but it does remind me of something around his recovery era for sure. Really uses some great similes in this track. Greeley just has really nice writing techniques, and he makes sure that his writing isn't just one-dimensional, which, as well as it, as I said before, but as well as it being in this track, that's just sprinkled across the entire album. You know, Greeley has that boom bap, more traditional hip-hop style across this album, with the odd exception here and there, like Burgundy and Burberry. And Greeley's just delivered a solid fucking album. I feel like he got the ordering right on here. I feel like he's absolutely smashed the verses. Like I said, I didn't really enjoy the hook on Talk Shit, but other than that, I don't really have much to really dig out about this. You know, it's tied together nicely with these phone calls that kind of, by the end of the album, becomes iconic. Like, you don't have to accept this call if you don't wish to. Whenever you call prison, obviously, you get that prompt first. And it's tied by, you know, these, like, almost voice notes, or these voicemails, should you say, that ties everything together really nicely. I would have maybe put, like, a little voice note at the end, maybe. Or voicemail at the end. I keep saying voice note. Voicemail at the end. But other than that, Greeley has stuck to a subject matter of it being all around his time in prison, and the wisdom and the thoughts and the thought process that he's gone through in this stage in his life, and he's managed to put that in music into an album, being able to show off his personality and tell a very personal story whilst also making it relatable to an audience, because yes, not everybody's been in prison, but there's definitely messages and lessons within this project that I believe can apply to pretty much anyone. Top of that, as well as speaking a good message, there is good music in here, music that I enjoy, music that I've saved to my Spotify or saved to my Australian playlist. Like, there's music to enjoy here as well, which is always a difficult thing to do, which is find a balance between someone talking real shit and having a message and then making it sound good. The amount of times I hear a freestyle and love the message behind it, but it's maybe not the best song. Vice versa. Some of the best songs, some of the most catchiest shit may not always be the most meaningful stuff. And for me, someone who's a lyric head, someone who likes to listen to something, I like to really take in something, this is definitely a project that I will go back to and revisit. This project for me has replay value. I have not got bored. I've listened to it 4 or 5 times now, and I have enjoyed it thoroughly each and every time. And it's also one of these albums where I kind of learn something new each and every time of listening to it. I always love those kind of albums. I know my lighting's kind of difficult, but back there I have Dave's Psychodrama, I have Gets' Ghetto Gospel, I have Kanye's Graduation. You know, these are albums where you listen to them first time and it's amazing, and then you listen to it 2 years later and you're still learning something, whether you've just grown up and now you're seeing a different perspective on a lyric, to you not catching that bar the first time round. I love being able to have replay value within an album, and I feel like it's so important. So Greeley, you've smashed this album in my opinion. I have nothing but majority positive praise. I hope you guys go and check this album out, whether you stream it, whether you buy it, if possible. Just go and show Greeley some support. Go and give him his flowers, because he fucking deserves them. But just remember, the slut drop champion is still sitting here in London. So when Greeley's ready to get embarrassed on stage, okay, whether that be, you know, Tasmania, whether it be Melbourne, whether it be fucking Auckland, I don't know, wherever it'll be in that southern hemisphere, I'll be there, and I'll make sure I show him up on stage. But either way, guys, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I think this is a great album. Do you agree with me? Do you think that this is a great album too? I'd really appreciate you guys. Also, if you would click the link down in the description below and save my new single that's going to be dropping Friday, Blame Game, I'd really appreciate that. It's also going to be dropping on YouTube as well, so feel free to check it out when it drops on there. But yeah, appreciate you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you, man, later.